what pain is born from another light? Leviathan ruled where every mirror compared. In his realm, enough always felt like less. But envy did not begin in hell. Once Leviathan guarded heaven's mirror sea. There, each soul saw its own gift. Others' talents once inspired grateful wonder. Leviathan once watched that harmony and peace. He kept the sacred waters clear and honest. Then he lingered after the crowds were gone. He stared at honors given to others. Praise began sounding distant from his own name. Another's brilliance started dimming his joy. He mistook difference for personal loss. There, envy first entered his heart. He bent reflections away from the truth. Souls started seeing what they lacked. Leviathan whispered dangerous thoughts into listening hearts. Soon everyone compared instead of understanding. Heaven's mirror became a cradle for suspicion. When heaven shook, Leviathan chose the abyss. He fell through rain and collapsing light. Even his halo faltered in the descent. Below waited a cold black sea. From broken glory he forged a crown. He raised new mirrors from poisoned waters. Thus the guardian became envy's prince. His realm punished through endless comparison. Even abundance felt unfair beside another plate. Friendship there could sour into silent rivalry. Leviathan smiled whenever another light dimmed. Envy prefers subtraction over true fulfillment. From the abyss, he watched the mortal world. One island kingdom called to him clearly. Nerath was beautiful, delicate, and reflective. Its queen Maris had endured many storms. Her people respected her calm strength. Nereth trusted her steady rule. Beside her stood gentle Princess Iria. Iria cared for the tide gardens lovingly. Those living gardens kept the harbor thriving. Her kindness touched lives without asking praise. Maris once shared the people's joy. Then one cheer lingered too long. Small wounds gathered beneath the queen's smile. On a quiet night, the pool stirred. Leviathan rose from the reflection itself. He asked one poisonous, reasonable question. Maris walked away, but not for long. Night after night, she returned to listen. The mirror showed Maris a forgotten future. Praise for Iria now sounded like loss. Joy around Maris became pressure and fear. She moved every ceremony toward her throne. Statues of Maris multiplied across the city. Iria's quiet service was erased from stone. Yet people still drifted back toward Iria. Leviathan returned whenever Maris could not sleep. He made Iria's light look like theft. Then he pointed toward the tide gardens. Maris ordered the living gardens uprooted. In their place, a grand mirror lake rose. Eerie watched the harbor's heart being torn out. She begged her sister to stop. But counsel now sounded like a challenge. The new mirror lake gleamed magnificently. Soon the harbor water grew dull. Nets returned lighter with each morning. The market thinned and worry spread. Eerie brought proof the sea was failing. She pleaded for the whole island now. Leviathan twisted warning into accusation. Maris even silenced songs praising Eerie. Celebration survived, but joy did not. The city felt a growing absence. Then a boatman's child named Nilo watched. He sensed something beautiful had been harmed. He remembered helping Eerie plant new life. Before the court, he stepped forward. 2 shell lanterns trembled in his hands. He set both lamps beside each other. Must one light dim for another? Eerie stood stunned behind the child. The whole court fell silent. Maris looked into the pool at last. She saw fear wearing her crown. Leviathan rose, demanding one final hardening. But Eerie came forward without any challenge. She laid down her wreath in love. 2 lights, she said, can guard one shore. At last, Maris understood envy clearly. It wanted a lonelier, smaller world. She broke the mirror lake open herself. Water rushed back through the old channels. Eerie replanted life where envy had stripped it. The people rebuilt the tide gardens together. Soon the harbor brightened and fish returned. This time, Maris listened beside her sister. Monuments of pride were taken down. Before all, Maris thanked Eerie as sister. Narath cheered for both lights together. Deep below, Leviathan rose in rage. His mirrors stopped flattering his delusion. They reflected only his own loneliness. Even with a crown, he still starved. He owned an ocean and envied a star. Such is the prison of comparison. In Narath, children learned a better lesson. Gratitude became the kingdom's new defense. Shared praise built a wall against envy. Nilo kept 2 lamps into later years. But Leviathan still listens for jealous hearts. He gathers every sigh born from comparison. Envy often begins as quiet sorrow. It grows when another bloom feels personal. Unhealed envy turns beauty into injury. Leviathan still cannot face himself honestly. And deeper below, another hunger stirred. Beelzebub waited in the banquet dark. Will you grow or shrink others instead? What happens when a soul owns mountains of gold, yet still trembles at losing a single coin? But before becoming the Prince of Greed, Mammon once guarded the treasures of heaven. His task was not to keep riches for himself, but to distribute abundance where it was needed most. He knew which season required more rain, which city needed grain, and which kingdom had to learn to share. But among all he guarded, Mammon began loving what glittered more than the purpose it served. He stopped counting lives helped and began counting vaults filled. It was no longer others' hunger, but the sensation of possession that made his heart beat faster. He began keeping the finest gifts, sending to the world only enough to appear fair. At the center of heaven's treasury stood an ancient scale revealing what a keeper of riches truly worshipped. When Mammon touched it, the side of gold sank lower even as more people starved than ever before. That was the first seed of greed, when value began being measured by rarity rather than need. Then Lucifer fell, and heaven was shaken by its first great war. Many angels chose a side. Mammon chose something else. He ran toward the collapsing treasures. As heaven's light fractured and fell into the abyss, Mammon saw below veins of smoldering gold. While others mourned the heaven they lost, Mammon thought only of all that could be stored in that depth. He descended into nameless caverns where gems grew from the walls like the eyes of night. There he heard greed's oldest whisper, "Keep it, pile it, never let it go." Mammon gathered fallen smiths and forced them to build vaults deeper than the abyss itself. He melted his steward's staff and what remained of his halo to forge his own seal of rule. Thus the keeper of riches became Mammon, Prince of Greed. His kingdom promised not joy, but the feeling that there was always one more thing to hold. Souls there were chained not by iron, but by possessions they could not release. The more one possessed, the more one feared losing. That fear was Mammon's strongest shackle. Mammon counted not gold as much as hearts, convinced that nothing was ever enough. From hell's depths, he heard the clinking of ambition on earth more clearly than any prayer. Among them, Seraphim drew Mammon most, wealthy, busy, and always afraid of being poorer tomorrow. Seraphim was ruled by Aurelian, a king who had risen from being a porter during years of famine. He remembered too well an empty stomach, cold hands, and the humiliation of begging for one more piece of bread. Because he had known poverty, he built wells, fair markets, and reserve granaries so none in his city would suffer the same. The people loved him not only because the city grew rich, but because its wealth used to circulate. Mammon saw in Aurelian the perfect soil, not crude greed, but the fear of becoming poor again. One night in the royal accounting chamber, Aurelian heard a coin roll, though there was no wind. Mammon appeared within the bronze mirror and whispered, "The one who shares most is often the first to run out." He did not tell Aurelian to plunder. He merely urged him to store more against the worst possible day. The next day, Aurelian ordered a count of every granary, every treasury, and every caravan bound for the port. At first, nothing seemed wrong. A cautious king merely appeared to be preparing for the future. But preparation soon became hoarding, and hoarding became the pleasure of watching numbers rise. He increased taxes on passing caravans and retained much of their goods inside royal granaries. The market remained open, but prices began rising. The poor bought less while the royal stores grew fuller. When that year's rains came late and the fields began to fail, Mammon whispered that he had been right. Advisors urged early release of grain to lower prices, but Aurelian feared tomorrow might be worse than today. Mammon told him that selling later at a higher price would strengthen the city, and power sometimes required a little hunger to be respected. So the granary doors remained locked while the lines before the bakeries grew longer each day. Aurelian told himself that the fuller the stores, the safer the kingdom. But he had confused safety with hoarding. Soon he invested in new vaults, new walls, and new locks instead of repairing the canals that were slowly cracking. To protect wealth, he spent more on guards for the granaries than on those who grew the food itself. Then there was a little girl named Lena, daughter of the miller, who began asking what the exhausted adults had stopped asking. She asked her father why grain slept in vaults while children woke with empty stomachs. That question spread faster than the news of rising bread prices. It reached Aurelian like a small but sharp thorn. The king descended into the deepest vaults to see with his own eyes what he believed he was protecting. There, the sound of grain pouring into bins seemed more pleasant to him than the pleas from the square above. Mammon appeared fully before him and said, "The more you keep, the firmer your throne becomes." He gave Aurelian a ring carved like a spiraling coin, promising that possession would drive away all anxiety. The king signed a new decree. No granary was to be opened without his personal command. An old granary steward finally begged Aurelian to open at least one storehouse, warning that grain kept too long could spoil. Aurelian grew angry, convinced that everyone wanted to take what he had worked so hard to preserve. To prove himself right, he ordered one small lower vault opened. But when the doors swung wide, the smell of rot escaped before the light. What he had clutched too tightly had begun dying in darkness, just like his own compassion. At that very moment, Lena appeared at the palace gate carrying an empty bowl and a single grain seed in her palm. When brought before the king, she asked, "Can gold grow, or does only a seed know how to grow?" She asked again, "If you hide everything in darkness, how will we live through the next season?" That question opened a crack in Mammon's spell. For the first time, the king saw emptiness inside his mountain of wealth. He looked at his hand and saw the ring was no promise of safety, but a lock gripping his fear. Mammon hurried to whisper that opening the stores now would mean destroying his own power. But Aurelian finally understood that a king who fills his vaults while his people starve has already lost power. He removed the ring and cast it to the floor, where it shattered into cold, dead coins beneath Mammon's feet. Then he ordered every granary opened, bread prices lowered, and the gold spent repairing canals before repairing thrones. The people carried grain, shared water, repaired dikes, and kept the city standing through its harshest dry season in years. Mammon cried out as he watched gold leave the vaults to become bridges, seed, and bread. In hell, his golden rivers turned to sand whenever wealth was used instead of imprisoned. He tried to clutch more, but the tighter he gripped, the more treasure slipped through the gaps between his fingers. That was Mammon's true punishment, limitless possession without ever feeling enough to rest. Aurelian kept a reserve granary, but from then on its doors opened toward the market and the fields, not toward the darkness of fear. Lena grew up telling others that the best kind of wealth is the kind that can still move from hand to hand. Yet deep in hell, Mammon still sits and listens for every clicking lock and every whisper that says one needs more. For greed rarely begins as obvious evil. It often begins as a fear that seems reasonable. When that fear is no longer guided by wisdom, surplus becomes a prison and wealth becomes the master. Mammon gained everything he once wanted to touch except the simplest thing, the safety he had sought from the beginning. In a palace deeper still, music sweet as honey began to rise, announcing another prince smiling in the dark. And the final question remains: what truly belongs to you if it can command your heart to tremble? What happens when the brightest being in heaven begins believing that no one deserves to stand above him? Before becoming a prince of hell, Lucifer was once known as the bringer of light. No angel possessed a stronger voice, brighter wings, or a more flawless appearance than he did, and led celestial armies against darkness beyond the stars. In every battle, Lucifer charged first and returned beneath waves of celebration. Even Michael, commander of the silver shields, once called him the pride of heaven. Can turn gratitude into the belief that everything is deserved. He began counting those who bowed instead of remembering why he had fought. Within the palace stood an ancient mirror reflecting most desired to believe. The mirror never said he was strongest, it merely made being second feel unbearable. Then one day, heaven was commanded to protect humanity newly born in the world below. The command did not demand worship of humans, but required strength to serve those who were weaker. Lucifer saw only humiliation, perfection being asked to bend for creatures shaped from dust. Michael warned that bending to lift another does not make a king smaller. Lucifer answered that light was not born to serve dust, but to be faced by everything. That was, the moment pride, the law ruling his mind. Who believed it, their achievements had never been properly recognized. He merely asked why the strong must always obey. Each whisper became an army believing freedom meant never having to bow. At the final council, Lucifer was ordered his weapon and returned to his place. Lucifer toured the distant throne and declared that his place should be the highest. When ordered to surrender his command crown, he broke his spear and forged its shard into a sword. The breaking metal rang like the first declaration of war in heaven's history. War began upon cloud bridges once built to connect the kingdoms of light. Lucifer, that none dared face him alone. Each victory brought him closer to the throne and farther from his original purpose. Michael stopped him at the Zenith Bridge, the only path into heaven's heart. Michael asked whether Lucifer still fought for freedom or merely because others refused to obey him. And their duel changed the color of the entire sky. Lucifer was faster, stronger, and nearly struck the sword from Michael's hand. But at the moment he could finish the battle, Lucifer glanced toward the throne for a single breath. Michael did not strike his body. He struck the fracture within the sword forged by pride. When the weapon split in two and the light around Lucifer began to fade, the bridge vanished beneath him, and Lucifer fell through clouds that once welcomed him. His 6 wings were not torn away. They darkened as the light within them changed. His followers fell behind him, still praising the king who had never won a throne. They struck an abyss without fire, containing only darkness and endless silence. The silence frightened Lucifer more than punishment, because no one remained to call him magnificent. So he commanded a kingdom where everyone would reflect his own image. He forged the 2 halves infernal crown. From that moment, the bringer of light became Lucifer, Prince of Pride. His kingdom tortured no one with whips, but with crowns too heavy to remove. Every mirror showed its viewer as greater, wiser, and more deserving than everyone else. Lucifer never forced anyone inside. He only offered the praise they already wished to believe. The first to hear him clearly, a king who had once been a poor soldier. Cassian had once been loved listening builders and ordinary soldiers. After many victories, the people began who could never be wrong. Lucifer appeared within the royal mirror and told Cassian he needed no counsel from lesser minds. The next morning, Cassian dismissed his council and raised his throne above every other seat. He ordered a tower reaching the clouds so the entire world would be forced to see his greatness. The old architect warned that the ground could not support such enormous weight. Cassian did not examine the warning. He punished the man who made him feel questioned. The tower continued rising, while cracks spread beneath the city like black roots. When the rains arrived, the sinking foundation blocked the water feeding the fields. The people lacked food, yet Cassian ordered more gold placed upon the tower's crown. The king said, failure existed only in the minds of the weak. Lucifer rejoiced because Cassian had learned pride's deadmeat error. Yet among the crowd stood a young girl who did not bow when the royal procession passed. If you are truly great, why must everyone constantly tell you so? Cassian ordered the girl seized, but not one soldier stepped forward. For the first time, the king watched his power vanish when others stopped being afraid. He fled to the palace and shattered the mirror, but Lucifer emerged from every broken piece. Lucifer told Cassian he must never apologize because a kneeling king would cease to be a king. Cassian looked at him as prince. Why do you need me kneeling? The question reopened a memory Lucifer had buried beneath thousands of years of praise. For one moment, a road appeared between the palace and the ancient gate of dawn. No army blocked Lucifer. The path required only that he remove his crown and descend from the throne. Lucifer raised his hand toward the crown, but stopped when he noticed his followers watching. He feared bowing more than losing heaven for a second time. At last, Lucifer declared of making him lower his head. The gate closed not because Lucifer was rejected, but because he refused to enter. Cassian removed his crown, entered the square, and admitted his failures before those he had dismissed. They began helping him restore the water and save the fields. The tower became lower, grew stronger for the first time. Lucifer returned to hell and shattered every mirror that reflected Cassian's recovery. Yet he kept one shard because it still reflected the angel who once served others. Lucifer understood that his true punishment was not fire, but the inability to say he had been wrong. Pride had promised to place him more alone than anyone. Deeper within hell, the sound of coins announced that another prince was awakening. What is a crown worth when its wearer is no longer free to remove it? What happens when desire replaces true love? Asmodeus rules through endless longing and irresistible temptation. Before hell, Asmodeus guarded heaven's sacred flame of joy. He blessed weddings, reunions, courage, and noble love. Desire once guided souls toward beauty, truth, and goodness. Then Asmodeus began craving admiration more than meaningful joy. Heaven held a chamber showing every hidden desire. There, Asmodeus saw countless beings worshiping him. He stopped asking where desire led, only how fiercely it burned. He told vulnerable angels that limits belonged to cowards. During Lucifer's revolt, Asmodeus saw his own opportunity. He carried sacred instruments and masks into the abyss. There, he built a palace confusing love with obsession. He forged his broken halo into a royal mask. The guardian of joy became Asmodeus, Prince of Lust. His kingdom trapped souls inside endless and unreal desire. Everyone saw perfection, yet could not value reality. Asmodeus turned attraction into hunger without a name. He searched earth for hearts, trading peace for desire. Alaris shone brightest with moonlight, flowers, and festivals. Queen Selene ruled Alaris through wisdom, music, and art. Her festivals restored laughter after years of war. Beauty once healed Alaris instead of controlling it. Asmodeus exploited Selene's fear that beauty might fade. One night, a strange fragrance filled her mirror chamber. Asmodeus claimed Alaris had barely touched true beauty. He urged longer festivals, brighter squares, and endless nights. At first, the longer celebrations seemed harmless. Silk, lanterns, perfume, and music filled every garden. Advisors warned that farms and canals were being neglected. Asmodeus proposed the Chamber of 1,000 Reflections. Selene believed its beauty could erase every sorrow. The chamber opened, drawing crowds like moonlit tides. Inside, everyone saw their perfect imagined self. Soon, visitors returned again, and endlessly. Flattery replaced honesty, and illusions weakened real relationships. Growing praise blinded Selene to Alaris's decline. The court spent heavily on perfume, silk, and pleasure. Water was diverted from fields into ornamental fountains. Mira, a young temple singer, noticed the danger. She valued songs that created lasting human connection. Mira asked why fountains sang while village wells fell silent. Her question spread across Alaris like a broken note. Asmodeus showed Selene a grander vision of endless admiration. He gave her the perfume called the Moon's Kiss. Its fragrance made people smile, desire, and forget quickly. But quick passion faded, leaving deeper emptiness behind. People compared real partners with perfect mirror illusions. Guards slept, artists chased praise, and markets weakened. The waterkeeper begged Selene to repair the floodgates. She believed greater beauty could still heal everyone. Then drought came, while festival fountains continued flowing. Mira brought an empty bowl and a withered flower. She asked whether fragrance could replace water and life. The silent hall finally heard the kingdom cracking. Asmodeus warned Selene that ending the festival would end devotion. Selene saw that Mira came to protect what remained real. She crossed every mirror without admiring her reflections. The final mirror revealed her fear of being forgotten. Asmodeus claimed that denying admiration meant denying the heart. Selene said desire destroys hearts when it demands everything. She poured the Moon's Kiss across the mirrored floor. The rising mist revealed every hidden crack beneath the beauty. Selene sealed the chamber and restored water to the fields. She canceled the grand festival despite anger and blame. many returned to their homes and real relationships. Mira led young workers in song beside the canals. Selene repaired floodgates, lakes, and forgotten morning markets. Asmodeus raged as his illusions collapsed across hell. His mirrors began showing the truth he hated. He could not tell love from the need to be desired. He created adoring faces, yet no sincere heart remained. Selene kept music and festivals within healthy limits. Mira taught that real presence surpasses perfect illusion. Deep in hell, Asmodeus still listens for restless hearts. Lust often begins with loneliness and fear of rejection. Without truth and self-control, longing becomes a soft chain. Asmodeus gained every illusion except love without disguise. Deeper below, Leviathan stirred within the black abyss. Does love nourish the soul or leave it hungrier?